I'm a great believer of Vijay Govindarajan's three-box solutions, or famously called as VG's three-box solutions. Vijay has famously referred this as he's picked up from the Hinduism's cosmic energies, like the Trimurti's inspiration. As a company, most of the creative companies follow this. That means you should have projects aligned with which one to start, which one to stop, and which one to sustain. And this has helped a lot in identifying projects where companies go through transformation. Also, I'm really interested in inside the box thinking, or it's called as systematic inventive thinking. This structure or this innovation structure gives us ways to build solutions from the existing practices. So it famously follows 5 different tactics named subtraction, division, multiplication, attribute dependency, and task unification. I really looked at many of the technology companies utilizing this, and it really helped, be it Apple, be it Google, or even the famous Twitter's hashtag was actually inspired by this. My greatest inspiration are from the technology companies where they use these techniques to build new phones, or the famous examples of how Apple removed the CD drives and the LAN ports in the Mac, or even the headphone jack in the iPhone is clear example. One interesting aspect I liked about Twitter is that the way the hashtag was invented is to really split the internet to the ease of users. I believe this is an outcome of SIT. The security in cloud goes along with how the application or your infrastructure landscape was migrated. So as you know, there are multiple ways to migrate applications, whether it's lift and shift, or re-architect, or re-platform the application, or even you might even retire some of the processes while you're doing the migration to cloud. So same approach in terms of the stages of adoption into cloud can be applied into cybersecurity as well. That means when you are moving into cloud from an on-premise or a data center structure, you also need to follow the similar cybersecurity upgrade or cybersecurity reassessment, because it's like you're changing your house. So you can't have the same practices which you had in your old data center in the cloud. And that's a very important aspect. Like I said, the technology in the cloud, where you can consume cybersecurity services on demand, has to be adopted while you move into the cloud security. And the difference between an afterthought in data center to an afterthought in cloud would be very costly, because cloud has its own pace and scale, and it can disrupt if these are not taken care while migrating the applications. One of the major aspects is that in a large organization, one size doesn't fit all. So you would have your internal enterprise application users, you would have engineers who's building either internal or external facing public mobile applications or cloud tools. So one size doesn't fit all. Having said that, the hygiene security posture to be completed first. And the second would be to understand the behavior of the application, users, and data, and then customize it for that need. And able to have this zoom in and zoom out view would really help. And of course, this is not one-time process. It would be an ongoing cybersecurity engagement, which is 24/7. From an IT infrastructure point, cloud has flattened the infrastructure elements. According to the National Institute of Standards and Technologies, NIST, it has majorly 3 special characteristics. That means one, in terms of essential characteristics of cloud, that means on demand, elasticity, and high availability of services. Second, the models in which the services are delivered, be it software as service, infrastructure as service, or a platform as service. And the third is about how cloud is deployed, whether it's public, private, or hybrid cloud. So in whichever case, now the risk is shared with the cloud provider. So earlier, when you're running your own data center, it's about the resiliency of your hardware in terms of your process, and it's more like reducing the infiltration from outside world through its hardware or software firewall. But what cloud has done is that you are exposed to a high availability zone. At the same time, that means your practices are more visible outside. So unless you align with your cloud service providers, at the same time, unless you understand the profiling of your people and how data center is used in cloud, it becomes extremely difficult to retain the same level of maturity like in a data center. For example, when you're in cloud, actions happens in seconds and hours. So unlike a data center, risk mitigation in cloud, you have to be on 24/7. You have to be adopting new age technologies like user behavior, utilizing AI and ML to understand your network topologies, and also worry about attack coming from anywhere in the world. Believe in BOG, or big, hairy, audacious goals. And the large projects always have this in mind. At the same time, to make it successful, it's also about small steps towards big goal. Now, the idea is to paint the final picture for all the stakeholders, including your team members, so that everybody is driving towards that end goal. At the same time, the large projects or the big projects or the transformations doesn't happen overnight. It's a small daily improvement and the direction that what really matters. I really like an analogy from the golf course. It's from putting. When I learned about putting in the golf course, it's like when you have to target a hole, you imaginarily drive a line towards a goal or the hole. But at the same time, once you define that goal, you just focus on a near focus area. That means when you hit the ball, you just want to ensure that the ball passes through the nearby direction, so that after that it just passes through and gets to the post. And this is very interesting because you have the big vision or the big project goal, but what you're really focusing is that you have to hit the ball at the right place. I think a lot of sports activities have the same mentality. You have to win the big championship, big points, be it grand slams in tennis, but ultimately it's the points that matter. So you have to really look at both aspects. The big projects would have to have a clear picture of the end goal that motivates the entire team, while it helps to have the end goal. As a leader or a person who is running on a daily basis, really need to focus on what's to be achieved on a daily manner. So I think a marriage of these two really helps to get the transformational projects on track. Digital transformation definitely is not a one big change. It's a journey. And personally, I believe this word itself, the buzzword itself, the digital transformation, would fade away in the next few years. It was like computerization or a digitization in the past. But a transformation from a business perspective is really required, and digital becomes a medium to do that. So it is not just implementing the digital technologies in the organization, but also a journey in which the business itself transforms using these technologies, and the technologies are changing so fast. I used to give an analogy that the rainbow is not painted in one stroke. The rainbow has 7 colors, and these 7 colors have to come together in the right alignment to see the rainbow in the organization. I believe digital transformation means like painting a rainbow in the organization. That means the transformation is a journey across all the departments, whether it's sales to manufacturing, to delivering of software and services, to warranty and the customer service. So unless the transformation has impacted each and every department in an organization, driving them to the new orbit, utilizing a digital economy, the transformation is not complete. And transformation is kind of evolution, right? So I believe it's a long journey, and having this tool in place helps them to sustain for a longer run for any organization. The enterprise risk management process defines how mature your organization is in terms of cybersecurity. So, as it said, it's not the strongest link; it's the weakest link that defines your posture about cybersecurity. And as said about the cloud, the technologies are changing and leapfrogging so fast, unlike in a data center environment where you consume and buy what you want. In the cloud era, the cloud service providers are upgrading their hardware based on the risk and to avoid other risks coming from the hardware elements. What matters for organization is to really align with their application landscape and the potential of how each of the application interacts within and outside. So in terms of mitigating cybersecurity risk, it's always beneficial when you have a 24/7 security incident management system, a SOC, and also a security team who is not just on the back office but working along with your application teams. There are concepts like security-driven architecture. That means the cybersecurity is not an afterthought, but it's a security comes first. Like we used to say about quality and testing, it's much cheaper when you define a security structured application architecture well ahead in the game rather than mitigating later part when the application is scaling. And that will be very costly, as a lot of consumer products, as it scales, a security incident can make or break your whole adoption. Examples like data privacy in some of the conferencing tools, or what you saw in Netflix and other public tools, how they suffered when they had to really respond rather than proactively working out. The second aspect is that the developer community needs to get into a DevSecOps model. That means the security team is not outside their DevOps, but it's pretty much along with them. That helps to build applications and have a better sleep at night after you deploy public solutions. I think pretty much all industries have embraced one way or the other way of digital transformation. And I believe the consumer technology has really taken the transformation way ahead. I believe that both the retail and the financial sector is really leveraging the direct access to consumers, and that you can see in the way things are delivered in retail. I believe the access to consumer, through the mobile phone, the social media, and reaching each and every part of the consumer wherever they are. I think that has helped to really leapfrog the innovation within these industries. One of the reasons is that these companies or these industries had the advantage of being in the web, or they are the ones who had really utilized a web presence. For example, the banks always had an internet login, right? I think it's very way after the Y2K, once the .com started, I think the banks were early to pick up that. And this helps to have a direct access to each of the users as a customer. At the same time, the retail also was on the same lines. It had early advantage of getting a web interface. I think the digital transformation was about really being with the customer all the time. So with more technology in place and able to access the behavior of the users, I think these two industries are really done great. At this point, around 60% of the world population is connected to internet. And this is a number in the past, even large organizations, I am saying about 10 to 15 years back, didn't have internet connection for their employees. So I believe this connectivity and a device which each of us have, which is a mobile phone, is really changing the way the transformation is taking place at this point. I think one is the reach. Second is the applications like social media platform. That means the 60% of population, out of which majority of them are connected at any point. And this has helped for organization to reach any customer anywhere in the world. For example, the news break or the breaking news nowadays doesn't happen over a typical news channel. It happens over Twitter. It happens over Instagram, right? The retirement of Dhoni was through Instagram. So if you're not in Instagram, you're losing out news. So it not only means for organizations, for celebrities, for influencers, they have a direct channel with their followers. And this has changed the way in which the organizations deliver products. For example, because of the connectivity and cloud and social media and analytics, and of course with AI and ML, the companies are able to bring business ideas across region and geographies in a matter of days and time. And I think the only thing stopping is in terms of the local regulatory things and the data privacy. But otherwise, the reason is that the world has a new language, which is digital. That means a teenager in India can relate with a teenager in the US or even in Africa, because they all follow the same Netflix or an YouTube influencer. I think this has made the world much closer. So if I relate, it was said that globalization made the world flat. I would say digitalization or digital transformation is making the world much closer.